Hello everyone. So I'm going to be talking to you today about IBM design and design thinking. So we'll have a brief overview of this. Certainly there's a whole lot of detail to design thinking, but we just want to introduce you to give you a brief overview to get a feel for what IBM is doing around design thinking. IBM Design is a new business unit within IBM to promote and instill the practices of design thinking. So design thinking provides a set of principles around the way products are designed and developed. IBM didn't invent design thinking. Design thinking is an approach to the way products are designed, and its focus is on really two key things you'll kind of hear in this message are the approach around designing products that provide exceptional user experiences end to end. So the goal is to provide you with exceptional user experiences when we're designing our products. From product delivery, so from the time you install the product to the time that you use it. And it's also another thing is about collaboration. And stakeholders, and gathering stakeholders as we design our products. We want to collaborate across our stakeholders, and stakeholders are all of us, really. It ranges from the time the product management team has the idea around what we should be providing to the product engineering team, to you, our clients. And so it's really about collaborating and aligning everyone around the product design and getting buy-in. It's all about understanding our clients' needs and really designing with empathy for our users. So you'll see that message kind of as I continue to go through this. You, our clients, you play a key role in the success of this mission within IBM. And so we want to educate you on an overview of design thinking. And so we'll talk about design thinking broadly, as I mentioned, and then we'll briefly discuss how ComServer will be using these practices. So one thing that is clear about this slide is that our IBM executive leadership thinks that good design is the key to IBM's success. It affects the bottom line. It affects our business. And so our founder, Thomas Watson, says, good design is good business. Ginny Rometty, our current IBM CEO, she says, engaged employees drive the client experience, and that in turn drives business results in that order. That's a very powerful message. The client experience drives business results. That's what she thinks. That's what our executives think. There's one key to our growth, the client experience. And so, don't get me wrong, we can cite many cases where IBM products have had great designs, award-winning design. We think about the personal computers, the first personal computers and the laptops. IBM certainly had major contributions. But in general, I think one of the message is kind of that across IBM products, we really haven't had consistent principles and practices for providing designs that focus really on the client experience and have empathy for our clients. So if you go to the next slide, this little scenario provides a few amusing examples of this. So in IBM, we have tended to focus on providing the technology. We're a technology company, and we haven't always. Sometimes we lose sight of the user experience when we're in the quest to provide you with the next great technology that we're providing. Sometimes we think we understand our users, but we really don't. And so we might be able to relate to a few of these humorous little examples here, right? Hey, we come to you, hey, I have this new technology for you to use. Great, I'm going to start building it right away, without maybe understanding our users, all the users in building that technology. Could we have built the technology? We may have produced a great technology, but we haven't got the buy-in from our users. The other thing is, you should add a widget X so I can do task Y. Okay, if that'll make you happy. So a lot of times, we have communication maybe with one user. or one stakeholder, and they want widget X. But if we really took the time and spent the time to collaborate with more users, we might find that we came up with something different. And so really what this just indicates is sometimes we just don't understand our users. So going to the next slide. So IBM is on a mission to reimagining, to invest in and reimagine how we design our products. And IBM is very serious about this. We talked about our executive team, and they are investing in the fact that they think that our business depends on good design. So back in 2011, IBM actually did start the IBM Design Division, the IBM Design Business Unit today, and they hired somebody from the outside of IBM, Phil Gilbert. He is actually the general manager of the IBM Design Division. Phil Gilbert came into us through an acquisition, and this acquisition had award-winning designs. And so somebody said, well, this guy really knows how to design products for our clients. And so we started to pick his brain and tried to understand, the methods and approaches he used to do that. So when Phil came in, one of the things he noticed was that we really needed these practices. But the problem is he had a real challenge. IBM is a huge company with more than 1,000 products. And so how could he bring about, he wondered, how could he bring about a change within IBM? How could he get us to employ the practices that lead to great designs? And so he began actually assembling a team of top talent to help him establish this mission. So IBM has spent the last few years hiring skilled designers from top design schools. And so, the idea is that we really do want to reimagine. We're investing in how we reimagine designing our products. So going to the next slide. So this team that Phil Gilbert assembled, they developed something called IBM Design Thinking. And it's certainly based upon the practices and principles of design thinking that we read about in the industry. But IBM Design Thinking is a framework. So they've given us a framework for helping us to deliver great user experiences to our clients. And really, it's about providing principles and practices that can help guide us, all the teams across IBM, in a consistent manner when we're developing our products. So going to the next slide, we're talking about IBM is serious in their investment. IBM is actually building design studios all across the world where we can learn about teams across IBM that are building signature products can learn about the practices of design thinking, can receive education, and help in understanding the practices of design thinking in the studios and then bringing that back to the labs where their teams are building the products. So in the fall of 2013, IBM did open the first new design studio in Austin, Texas. And Phil Gilbert says this. He says, this studio is the embodiment of a new approach to software design. It's the home of IBM Design Thinking, a broad, ambitious, new approach to reimagining how we design our products and solutions. And so the first studio opened in Austin, and we continue to open more. There may be more than 20. This slide is a month or two old, so we continue to open studios for IBM Design Thinking across the world. Okay, so one of the things I hope that has become clear is IBM Design is really about delivering exceptional user experiences to our clients. It's all about us doing that, our collaboration. And the IBM Design Thinking is the framework for how we get there, for improving the quality of our decisions when we're making our designs, when we're building our designs. In IBM Design Thinking, as I mentioned, we start with the following principles and core practices. So we developed these principles and practices to guide us in building designs for our clients and our users. So these are just a way to help guide us, and this is part of the framework. So that when our teams are practicing design thinking, we can all kind of have the same common approach. And so these are just to help us get there. And it kind of shows how we are changing and focusing, with the focus on empathy for our clients. So those core practices are HILs, sponsor users, and playbacks. And we'll talk about each one briefly. So HILs. When we talk about our product delivery, so these are the core practices that we talk about when we're building our product end to end. So the first thing we think about are HILs. So when we're developing a new product or function, we want to think big. We want to invest for market outcomes. We want to frame the release around big problems and outcomes for our users, not just a list of feature requests. So that's kind of key. We want to be able to, so a lot of times we tend to think in terms of when we're building a new release, we tend to think of themed approaches and things like that. Well, we're going to improve performance. We're going to add this feature so that you can have better usability. But HILs kind of focus us differently. It's really about I like the quote from Yogi Berra: if you don't know where you're going, you might not get there. So the HIL is figuring out what is important to provide to you, and trying to understand that. And during the HIL time, you try to understand that. You try to understand what is the problem that we're trying to solve for our user and what is the outcome. It really takes collaboration and alignment around what is being built, producing a clear mission. So this occurs from the product management through the design, through the engineering, and the delivery. It also occurs, so product management, design, engineering, sales, you as our clients, we're all stakeholders in this. We're all collaborating to determine what problem we're trying to solve. And a HIL, when you think about a HIL, it doesn't address how the product will be built or accomplished, but it really focuses on the user-centric outcome when we're designing. So in terms of design thinking says a HIL has 3 components. A who. So who is this for? Who are we designing for? What can they do with this that we're building? And wow, what is the significant improvement that we're making for you, our client? So who, what, wow is key. So when you're building your release, design thinking says that you really have to determine how to allocate your resources. So when you start thinking of a HIL, you want to, and so part of the reason we call this a HIL is we talk about the collaboration, the alignment, the solving the big problem. They call it a HIL because the idea is that you're going to band together to take the hill. So it's kind of related to a military analogy, I guess, of taking the hill, of conquering that quest for that big outcome and for you, our clients. And so, as I mentioned, when we're building our releases, we need to determine how to allocate our resources. So we have a set of design thinking does understand that there are a limited set of resources, and so you have a release and you want to solve several big problems. So your hills are your big problems that you want to solve, and your big outcomes, your who, what, wow. But there is something called foundation, technical foundation that we call. And so that is also a part of the release. So design thinking does realize that not everything is necessarily maybe a who, what, wow. There is foundation. Like, for example, we may have problems that we need to fix in our product, maybe to enhance performance, to have better serviceability, things like that, that we still need to, and we understand that we need to provide for you, our clients, in terms of our product. So one example of a hill, just to take an example of how we might craft a hill when we're designing our release. So for example, we might say that in the past we said a new feature in COM server might traditionally have read provide support in the configuration assistant for reusable rules in support of TCP/IP stacks in the sysplex. So really with that statement, the who, what, wow is not really that clear. Who are we designing this for? What can they do? And what is the wow? So with design thinking, we take the approach of thinking of it in the way of the user-centric approach. So we want to design a modern UI that a network administrator, that's the who, can create and deploy 20 filter rules for 20 stacks in a sysplex, that's the what, in under 30 minutes, and that's the wow. So that's kind of, if those of you that are familiar with certainly z/OS COM server, and when we come to talk to you about our new features and functions, hopefully there'll be a change in the way that you see us collaborating with you and trying to understand your needs and the outcomes that what we're developing, we hope to develop for you, will have the impact. So I think this is a good quote from Don Norman, who is very well known in certainly design thinking. Designers don't try to search for a solution until they have determined the real problem. And even then, instead of solving that problem, they stop to consider a wide range of potential solutions. Only then will they converge upon the proposal. This process is called design thinking. So design thinking is about working with our users, working with our clients, understanding their problems, understanding their needs. And we may need to work through a cycle of solving the problems in different ways until we can come up with the best solution. So that's really what design thinking is about. So going on to the next practice of design thinking, sponsor users. So certainly when we have hills, we need to include our sponsor users. So sponsor users are you, our users, you, our clients. You are the ones that will be using our product. So we need to be able to envision the experience you'll have when you use our product. We want to design experiences for real users rather than your imagined needs, which sometimes we do. Sponsor users are the users, and we want to design with empathy for our users. So we want to understand your pain points, we want to understand your problems in what we're trying to solve, and so it really requires working with you directly in close partnership, sharing our designs much earlier than maybe we have in the past. So that's one of the things that you'll start to see with design thinking is we want to gather clients as sponsor users as we build our designs, as we tackle our hills. We want to be able to include you and understand how you're using our product, have empathy for the problems, for the problems that you're facing, and try to solve them. So I capture this quote from one of the members of the IBM design team who is helping to design the practices of design thinking. Good design is about recognizing that the person on the other end has a lot less patience than you do. So I thought that was a really good example of how we design products and when we think about our users, certainly having to use our products. Okay, so we've talked about hills, we've talked about sponsor users. So we develop our develop our hills, we collaborate with our sponsor users, and our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are the members of our team that are helping to deliver the product. So the end-to-end stakeholders, as I mentioned. You have product management, you have design and engineering, you have sales, you have and you have our clients, you have management. So all of these are stakeholders in the delivery of our products. And so playbacks are another core practice of design thinking that help us to remember to collaborate, align, and engage as we go along and we're developing our hills. So playbacks are really, you can think of those as milestone events that we have during the product delivery cycle, where we align the team and we align our stakeholders around the value that we're trying to deliver, rather than just a line item. So aligning them around that hill. And we talk about the playbacks being there. So there are different types of playbacks. There are milestone playbacks during the phases of the development. Each continues to kind of show more refinement. As part of that, as part of doing a playback, for example, we want to tell a story that's focused on the user. In the way that we're designing our product, we want to tell the story of our design through the user's eyes, through the user's experience. And so, the way we do that is we have tools like mock-ups, prototypes, and demonstrations to share what we're thinking. And so we share that with each other, amongst us as stakeholders internally within IBM, and then we also share that with you, our clients. And so one of the types of playback is a client playback. So you, as our sponsor user, we will, as we develop our hill, we'll collaborate with you along the way and share our story, share the story, share mock-ups, demos, prototypes to help you understand the details around what we're building and get your feedback, and ensure that we're building something that you need along the way. Okay. So one of the things I want to share with you on the next slide about Doug Dietz, design principal at GE Healthcare. He's an industrial designer. I think is a really interesting story and exemplifies design thinking. So Doug Dietz is a design principal at GE Healthcare. He is an industrial designer, and he designs the MRI machine. So the MRI machine helps, I think, to look at patients that have problems going through cancer and serious illnesses use this machine, and so you go to the hospital and you have an MRI. So Doug designed this MRI machine that you see in the picture here. And he's very proud. He was very proud of this machine. He thought, he had basically created this wonderful piece of technology, and he was extremely excited about it. So he went to a hospital once the machine was designed, he went to the hospital to observe his users. And so he started, he was standing kind of outside of the room and looking through a window, looking in. He could hear what was going on in the room, and he could see what was going on in the room. And the first thing he saw was certainly the hospital staff, but he saw a mother and a father and a child. And the child had to go in to get the MRI. And so what he observed was the child began to cry. And the child they weren't able to get the child into the MRI machine. And so the parents were trying to coax the child wouldn't go in. And so it ended up that they had to reschedule the appointment because in order for the child to get the MRI, the child would have to come back, but the child would have to be sedated to get into the MRI machine. So one of the things, Doug, he was devastated. He thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? I built this machine. I'm so proud of it, but it's wonderful technology, but, my user isn't able to use it. And so, or there are all kinds of problems with my user having to use this product that I've designed. So I encourage you to use the link provided here in the slide to the YouTube video. When you watch, you'll see how Doug Dietz used the practice of design thinking to address the problems of his users, to gain empathy for his users and gather feedback in coming up with a solution across all stakeholders involved. So one of the things I hope that you take away from that is that he designed a product, and he certainly initially didn't understand all of his users. And so he made it his mission to do that. He made it his mission to have empathy for his user. One of the things he talks about there is getting buy-in from everybody. So designing not only for the patient, the child, but also involving all the staff in helping to complete the entire picture of providing this design. It took more than just the looking at the child. He collaborated with the entire all the stakeholders involved, and that's really, I think, this video to me, this message is kind of the epitome of design thinking. And so he wouldn't rest until he had solved the problem for his users. So going on to the next slide. So what does all this mean to our z/OS communication server team and you, our clients? So one of the things we are doing is we're incorporating the design thinking practices into our product processes. And so the next release of z/OS is the first release that will use design thinking in our design. Our team here locally has participated in design thinking education, and so we hope as we continue to go along that we'll include more of our clients in understanding design thinking and hopefully being able to provide overviews as needed. As we build our product, we want to involve you, our clients, in becoming sponsor users. In being able to validate and also being able to form our hills, because we want to solve your problems. So we want to be able, hills are all about solving your problems and investing for bigger outcomes for you. So we definitely need to get participation. We also want participation in our design playbacks that we talked about. And so I want to thank all of you for joining. We'd like, certainly as we progress toward z/OS, the next release of z/OS, we may be soliciting you as our sponsor users. And so I want to thank you here from the team, and if you have any questions, please feel free.